Hello folks, this is Long and I am making this Git tutorial for folks who are just lost on just how to use Git to get started with our project. So if you don't remember exactly what Git is and what it does, I would highly recommend to watch the onboarding video on that. It should give you a quick overview, but I think I may make another video on more conceptual things about Git. Um, for this video, we will focus on getting these commands done. It will just basically give y'all the workflow on just how to use Git, right? So let's get started. The first command that we would be using is git clone. Git clone essentially downloads from a remote repository um, all of the code inside of that repository into a folder. So let's do that. We have a repository on here. It is our GitHub, and we will be using HTTPS. There are some complexities with this, but for the sake of simplicity, just focus on using HTTPS. It should work for y'all's setup. Okay, so let's copy that link. And then the very next thing we want to do is we want to navigate to the folder where we are going to download our folder or our repository. So let's do that. I'm going to go to my E drive actually. That's where my files are stored. That's where my downloads are stored. So it's going to be different for y'all, but it can be wherever y'all feel is comfortable. So if I remember properly, it's in users long downloads. Okay, so let's do that right now. Git clone, right? That's the command we want to use. Git clone. Git clone will download everything here, everything in this folder inside of another folder, and it will be called temple, the title on top. Okay, so let's do that. Git clone, add an URL, and then it will download it. And then to show y'all that it has properly downloaded, ls to list the things inside of our directory, and you will see that there is a folder called temple. We want to go inside of that folder, and then it'll be ls. Then as you can see, it matches exactly what is on the GitHub. So we effectively downloaded all of the code in the repository into a folder called temple. Okay, so that's what git clone does. Now, before you make a change onto the code base, we want to make sure that these changes are independent of every other change that would be done across a team. So to do that, we need to make a git branch. Branching is one Git concept that I would love to get into detail about, but it's probably going to be in a separate video. And just to keep things simple, use this command to basically get what we want done. We want to make a new branch to make code changes independent of everybody else's. So let's do that. So first, the way we're going to do this is that we're actually going to be using a naming convention. Okay? So what does that mean? So the name of your branch can technically be whatever you want. So git checkout, that should be whatever name, right? Actually not quotes, but whatever name. It can be whatever name you want. But because you're working in a team of like at least 20 people, you want to make sure that it is in context of what you do. Each branch should be related to a Jira ticket. So there should be a way for us to understand which Jira ticket it is and what the purpose of this branch is whenever somebody looks at it. It's very important that that's clear, or else someone goes in your branch, no one knows what that branch is supposed to do. It becomes code that's not really relevant to the project if it's not understandable, correct? So let's make sure that the name is proper. And the way to do that is by looking at our Git repository, or not repository, our Jira, my bad. So what I will do is that I will actually grab a random ticket. So for example, this one setup React repository, a very good one, very simple one, right? So let's do that. As you can tell, the command to set up a branch is right here. But what's important is that they provide you with a name that you want to use, the ticket ID and just the title. This should be good enough information for a branch. So we don't have to retype this all out because Jira's got it for us. So this is the command that we're using, right? So now we have that going, okay? But because we want to make sure that, I know that somebody has assigned themselves to this task. Well, technically this task is already done, but let's make it separate for now so there's no weird branch collisions. So this is how you switch branches. Get checkout main, because if you want to see all the branches, I'm not going to show you all. Too complicated. But for now, just know that using get checkout, you can use get checkout to make new branches, or you can use get checkout to move between branches, right? And it's very important to know where you're branching, and that kind of requires a more conceptual understanding. But for now, just to keep things simple, you want to from main do get checkout dash b and the name of the branch. The thing is that how do you know which branch you're on? You can use get status. Get status tells us which branch you're on. You want to make sure that whenever you use get branch, you want to be on the main branch, right? Whenever you're making a new branch, you want to make sure that you're on the main branch. Okay, so let's clear that. We're going to run the same command, but I'm going to add a dash long just to make it relevant. Okay, just to this tutorial at least. So now what we're going to do is see if we're actually on that branch. As you can tell, on branch, setup, ID, name, it's all here, okay? So let's check both these things out. So get checkout is to make a new branch, to make your code changes independent of everybody else. And then get status to see where which branch you are on currently. And there's more to get status in this, so technically this is not really checked because get status is used a lot alongside of get add and get commit. But there's two, so it goes by process. It's okay. So yeah, we're gonna go over get add and get commit. Okay. So now that we're inside of the temple repository, we are using a monorepo, which means there's a lot of code points inside of our repository. We want to make changes to maybe our app or maybe the kiosk, right? So if we want to make changes to the kiosk, we would go into the kiosk folder, right? Look at the code here and then implement our code here and just work in this directory. Or you want to work in the app, you do cd to the Octopoints client. And as you can tell, there's our app configuration and code here. Awesome. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to be working inside of the React app. So you may be wondering what I'm about to do. I am going to open this folder up in my text editor, right? So what that does is that it opens the repository and all the code in this file, which is great and all. We can see the server, the app, and the kiosk, right? But the problem is, as you can tell, these folders are open side by side. And while it's not too big of a deal, we are all humans and it lends to us possibly making mistakes by making changes in a file with the same name. For example, there's one package.json here and another package.json here. And it's just way too easy to accidentally make a change in a place where you didn't intend to. So what I was trying to show y'all is that inside of this folder, we should definitely choose a folder to specifically focus on to eliminate that kind of risk. Okay, so in this case, we know that our app is inside of this folder and we can open it up here. And you may be wondering, what about our Git repo? Does that change anything? Well, good to know is that your Git repository is stored at the root folder, so the one before Octopoints client. So this is still inside of a Git repository. It has the branch and everything, so we're inside of this folder. Git status, as you can tell, it still works. Okay, so we're in the clear in terms of Git. So again, to make sure that all of y'all understand, we've moved inside of this folder. We didn't have to, but we did move inside of this folder to make sure that we avoid touching other code in different folders. Okay, so we're inside of the app folder, and we're going to make a change. So to be able to push a branch, there needs to be a commit, right? And a commit is a mark in history of the Git project. If y'all would like to understand more of that, definitely let me know. I'll be making a video just to break down the concepts even more. But for now, if y'all want a quick overview of Git commit, please refer to that onboarding video that we had earlier in the summer. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly make changes to code by making a new component. So new component.js, right? And how do we implement a component? So first you have to make sure that you import all the proper things. So in this case, we need things from React Native, right? And we specifically need a view and text. Okay. Next, we need to export our function, or our component, which is actually a function. So export default function. And then we need to make sure we return our component. All text inside of React Native must be between a text component. Alright, so tutorial. If y'all are confused about React Native things, please refer to their documentation or the tutorial video. But hopefully the beginner guide should explain a couple things for y'all. And if that's not enough, of course, we're here to clarify some things too. Okay, so I know this was a lot. Export default in the function part and the default part and the import part. Those are all big questions to ask if you would like to understand just JavaScript and React Native. Okay, we've had some of these questions come up even without the video and without our tutorials. And the folks who have been asking these questions definitely did progress a lot in terms of knowledge for React Native. So I highly encourage being really curious and just asking questions about these things. Okay. So this is our tutorial component, right? And I'm not going to show how that would work. I will leave that for y'all to kind of get, right? So let's see. How do we know that we can add a change to a Git repository? First, we need to see if there are changes to be made. So always use git status. Git status tells you everything about your project. It tells us, hey, something changed inside of our example component, right? In our code editor, it told us that this line has changed. There are commands that help you find out what exactly changed, but we're not going to focus on that. There are two ways to add things. There are two ways to track changes inside of Git. So before you make a commit in Git, you must add it. Git add basically tells Git to track that file. You are paying attention to that file specifically because you said that there's a change, but we haven't exactly written this change into the project history, right? So for now, we would like to track specific changes. You can either do git add all, which would track all changes, right? But what if you would like to specifically track specific changes but not add all of them, right? Then you can just do git add, and then you can specify each individual file. So then we can do git status, which shows us that the individual file that we have added or tracked is now the only one that is being tracked, whilst the modified one is not being tracked and it's not being staged for commit, right? So the very next step after you confirm the changes that you would like to make is that you have to do a git commit. So after you confirm your changes and then you do your git add, and you're very okay with it, you git commit. And then git commit basically writes this change into the project's history. Okay? One thing that we're doing on top of a git commit is that we have to feed it a message with this -m. So in terms of git commit messages, you should write what you did, and the very first word is usually an action verb. Okay? An action verb. So what did you do? Add new component. We typically like to use the verb in present tense, so don't do added new component, just do add new component. That's just a convention that I use. You may want to be more specific, add new tutorial component, because whenever we go through the history, it will be more clear what has been changed, right? So as you can tell, we did a git commit -m, add new tutorial component. So this is the message, and git commit wrote this message and this commit into the history of the project. Okay? So how do we see this history? You can do git log. Git log shows us the history of the project. As you can tell, our message is right here, and each change that we've made and who did it and the time, it's this big log that is viewable over time. And it's very, as you can tell, important that the description of each commit kind of tells us what's going on. So you want to be specific, but don't write paragraphs, because of course this is a very big log over the years. Git commits are a lot quicker than you think. So now that we've made a commit and we've seen it in the log, you can use git status just to see the status of your project. Of course, as you can tell, the change, we didn't add it and we didn't commit it, so it's still here to be tracked, but that's not what we want. So everything works as intended, right? So going back to our checklist, we've done a git add, git commit, and then we saw the status. Now we have to push this branch to the Git repository to be seen by others. Right now, all the changes that we've been doing have been local, which means that all the changes that we've been doing have been on our PC right now, but it's not online, it's not on the internet, it's not on GitHub, right? So the way we're going to fix this is, or not even fix this, but the way we just do it, right, is to do a git push -u. So git push -u basically tells us that we are going to upload something, and then origin tells us where we're going to upload it. So git push -u origin, right? And origin is another word that we defined to represent GitHub. Okay, so git push -u origin, this word that we've defined, that is actually GitHub, and then the name of the branch, right? And if you don't remember the name of the branch, it's this. So you want to copy this and then you want to paste it, press enter, and it will push the branch onto GitHub. Okay, so git push -u means we're going to upload it. Origin tells us where, and mainly where. Origin is pretty consistent where it is. It is wherever you get cloned your Git repo. So in this case, it was GitHub, right? And then the name of the branch, and you want to make sure that it matches with the branch that actually exists. Okay, so let's clear that, and let's see it on GitHub. So, oh, no, that's not right. Let's refresh it. And then let's do git status to see the name of the branch, OT147. Let's do that. As you can tell, our branch is here. And if you go to Octopoint's client, SRC, you can tell that the tutorial component has been made. Okay? And another thing that you can do is that you can see the history of the commit by pressing history, and as you can tell, the log is also online. Okay, so that's just some general GitHub and Git things. So that's a Git push. And the very last step is to make a pull request. A pull request essentially means that you would like to take your changes and merge them into the main branch, which means that you want to take the changes that you made in your independent branch and merge it to the main code base that is being worked on together by everybody else. Correct? So we're going to do just that. We are going to make a pull request. So to make a pull request, you want to make sure that you select your branch. Okay? So OT147, set up React repository long. And then you want to make a pull request. Okay? So sometimes it will suggest it to you on the top, other times it would not. But in this case, we're going to just make it ourselves, right? So this tells us the base branch is the branch that we would like to merge into. So in this case, we would like to merge into main, which is our main code base. And then we want to choose a reference branch, which is the branch that we would like to take from. So in this case, I want to take the changes from this branch, the branch that we just made, the changes that we just made independently, right? And then merge it into main. So we're going to make a pull request this way. And as you can tell, you can look down and it shows exactly what has changed. And it shows us which commits are involved in the merging into the main branch, right? So this is the commit that we just made, and you can literally see the change that we just did in our code editor. So let's make a pull request. And it would be good to name it the same thing for now as our Jira ticket to make things clear. And you can, of course, you don't have to use it in coding language. Repository. And then you can write, give us a big log of just what you did. Any descriptions, anything relevant, feel free to use the space. It supports Markdown and full. So that is a convenience for y'all, really. One thing that you should do is that you should assign a reviewer that is part of the leadership team. So in this case, it could be me, right? Or it could be Chandra, as long as one of us has reviewed it, right? And then you want to, let's choose me for now. So you want to create a pull request. So as you can tell, you want to make sure that there are no merge conflicts. But this would be reviewed by us either way. But from this point on, you can leave your ticket, wait for us to review it and give you some feedback, especially in the comments area. You will be notified by email usually from GitHub that there's been comments or there's been changes requested, but it would essentially be all here. We would tell you what you would need to change, and from there, if everything is good to go and we've reviewed your code, we will go ahead and merge it. This is something that you wouldn't do. The only thing that you would have to really do is you would push your own branch, but you would not add changes onto the main branch. You wouldn't be merging anything. You would just be pushing your own branch, okay? So this pull request is just an error. We would just review it, right? And then over time, we would merge it. In this case, since it's a tutorial, we won't be merging it, so we wouldn't be affecting the main code base. But this is essentially how a Git process is done. I know there were some conceptual parts I left out. I will definitely be leaving that in a future video, but hopefully this helps you set up Git, right? And just know how to do the workflow of going from ticket to repository to making a change and then pushing a branch up and then making a pull request, waiting us to review, and then actually getting your code implemented with everybody else's, right? Again, reminder, do not press this button. We will be the ones that will be merging. Okay, the reviewers, the management team. All right. So thank you for listening. Um, Again, if there are enough questions and enough demand for a get concepts video, I may put some time to make something like that. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know and good luck.